My father was a ghost in the financial machine. He didn't trust banks, he didn't trust the government, and in the end, he barely trusted me. When he died of a sudden aneurysm last week, he left behind a digital empire worth $52 million. He also left behind Veronica, his trophy wife of 18 months, a woman who looked at him like an ATM with a pulse. At the reading of the will this morning, Veronica smirked as the lawyer announced she was inheriting all physical and liquid assets. She kicked me out of the mansion before the ink was dry. But she made a fatal miscalculation. She has the hardware wallet, the Obsidian military-grade cold storage device holding the private keys. But she doesn't have the PIN. She also doesn't know about the Duress protocol. My father, paranoid to the point of madness, programmed a trap. If you enter the wrong PIN 3 times, it doesn't lock. It incinerates the data. The keys are deleted. The 50 million vanishes into the digital void forever. My phone just buzzed. It's Veronica. She's realized she owns a titanium brick. She wants to make a deal. I'm going to give her a code. Just not the one she wants. The Obsidian wasn't something you could buy at Best Buy. It was a custom fabricated piece of hardware, machined from a single block of aerospace-grade titanium, heavy and cold in your hand. It looked less like a USB drive and more like a detonator. My father, Elias Thorne, spent the last decade of his life obsessing over 2 things, accumulating Bitcoin and ensuring no one could steal it. Paper money is a lie, Alex, he used to tell me, swirling a glass of scotch in his study, the blue light of his monitors reflecting in his glasses. The banks can freeze it. The government can print it away. But this? He would tap the black metal stick on his desk. Clink. Clink. This is absolute. It's mathematical truth. FIPS 142 Level 3 certified. Air-gapped. If the world burns, this stick buys the ashes. He was a genius, but he was also a paranoid narcissist. He taught me the security protocols like other fathers taught their sons to play catch. Rule 1, never write the seed phrase down. Rule 2, never tell anyone the PIN. Rule 3, if they put a gun to your head, burn it. Listen to me, he said, grabbing my shoulder with a grip that hurt. If someone forces you to open it, you don't fight. You enter the Duress Code. It looks like the real PIN. It acts like the real PIN. But the moment you hit enter, it overwrites the secure element with zeros. It kills the money. Do you understand? Better it burns than goes to a thief. I understood. I memorized the Duress Code before I memorized my own social security number. Then came Veronica. She was 26. He was 60. She met him at a crypto conference in Miami where she was a booth model. Within 6 months, she was wearing a ring that cost more than my college tuition. Within a year, she had convinced him that I was ungrateful and lazy, slowly pushing me out of his life until I was just a name on a Christmas card list. I didn't hate her for the money. I hated her for the isolation. She treated him like a senile king she was waiting to inherit. When Dad collapsed in the hallway last Tuesday, Veronica didn't call me. She called her lawyer. By the time I found out he was dead, his body was already at the mortuary and the Obsidian was already in her purse. She sat across from me at the funeral, wearing designer black, checking her watch. She thought she had won the lottery. She thought the hard part was over. She had no idea she was carrying a bomb. The reading of the will took place in a conference room that smelled of old leather and expensive cologne. The lawyer, Mr. Henderson, looked like he wanted to be anywhere else. He kept adjusting his tie, refusing to make eye contact with me. Veronica sat at the head of the table. She wasn't grieving. She was glowing. She scrolled through her phone, probably picking out drapes for the master bedroom she now officially owned. To my wife, Veronica, Henderson read, his voice monotone, I leave the estate at 4400 Crestview Drive, all vehicles, all art holdings, and all liquid and physical assets contained within the primary residence and safety deposit boxes. Veronica looked up and smirked at me. It was a small, tight smile that said, I told you so. And to my son, Alex, Henderson cleared his throat, shifting in his seat. I leave my collection of vintage vinyl records, and the contents of storage unit B12 at U Store on 4th Street. Silence filled the room. Records, Veronica laughed. It was a sharp, jagged sound. How sentimental. I'm sure you can sell them for. What? A couple $100? Is that it? I asked, looking at Henderson. That is the entirety of the testament, Henderson said softly. I'm sorry, Alex. Your father. He drafted this 6 months ago. He was very specific. What about the crypto? I asked. The Bitcoin holdings? They aren't mentioned. The will specifies all physical and liquid assets, Henderson explained. Technically, cryptocurrency is considered property. Since the access device, the Obsidian wallet, was in the safe at the primary residence, it falls under the purview of Mrs. Thorne's inheritance. Veronica reached into her Hermes bag. She pulled out the Obsidian. She slammed the heavy black titanium stick onto the mahogany table. Thud. It's right here, she said, her eyes gleaming with greed. It's a physical asset. It was in the house. Therefore, it's mine. I looked at the device. It was sitting there like a sleeping viper. Possession isn't access, Veronica, I said calmly. Do you have the PIN? I don't need the PIN right now, she snapped. I own the device. I'll hire someone to crack it. It's just a computer, Alex. Everything is hackable if you pay enough money. She stood up, smoothing out her dress. Now, regarding the guest house, she said. I've already spoken to the contractors. I'm turning it into a Pilates studio. I need you out by noon tomorrow. Leave the keys on the counter. You're kicking me out? Today? You're an adult, she said, checking her nails. Get a job. Or sell those records. I don't care. Just get off my property. I looked at Henderson. He looked down at his papers. There was no help coming from him. Fine, I said. I stood up. I walked to the door, but stopped and turned back. Veronica was picking up the Obsidian, weighing it in her hand, imagining the $50 million locked inside. Be careful with that, Veronica, I said. It's not a toy. It's my money, she hissed. Get out. I walked out into the bright sunlight. I felt a strange sense of calm. She had the house. She had the cars. She had the wallet. But she had made the classic mistake of the amateur. She thought the hardware was the value. She didn't understand that in my father's world, the hardware was just the coffin. The code was the only thing that mattered. And she had just evicted the only person on earth who knew it. I moved into the Starlight Motel off the interstate. It was the kind of place where the carpet was sticky and the neighbors argued at 3 a.m. I set up my laptop on the wobbly desk, plugged in my hard drive of digitized jazz records, and opened a browser window to a blockchain explorer. I keyed in my father's public wallet addresses. I had them memorized. Balance, 1,240 BTC. Status, dormant. Last transaction, 1,490 days ago. The money wasn't moving. That meant Veronica was failing. I found out later, through a buddy of mine who runs a boutique IT security firm in the city, exactly how bad her week was going. On Wednesday, she hired a forensic data specialist who charged $500 an hour. He took one look at the Obsidian and packed his bag. He told her the casing was epoxy potted. If you tried to drill into it or dismantle it to reach the memory chip, the pressure sensors would trigger a voltage spike and fry the board instantly. On Thursday, she tried a shady white hat hacker she found on a dark web forum. He tried to connect via the USB port. The Obsidian detected the unauthorized handshake protocol and locked him out for 24 hours. On Friday, she got desperate. She flew in an engineer from Palo Alto who specialized in recovering lost crypto for careless millionaires. I can only imagine the conversation. The engineer holding the heavy titanium bar, looking at Veronica with pity. Mrs. Thorne, he would have said. This isn't an iPhone. There is no forgot password link. There is no backdoor for the FBI. This uses ICE 256 encryption on a segregated secure element. Without the PIN, the entropy is too high. The sun will burn out before a supercomputer guesses the code. So it's useless? She would have shrieked. Without the code? It's a very heavy, very expensive paperweight. By Saturday morning, the market took a turn. Bitcoin dipped 8%. On a $52 million portfolio, that's a $4 million loss before breakfast. Veronica didn't have liquid cash. She had a mansion with high property taxes, a leased G-Wagon, and a shopping addiction. She needed liquidity, and she needed it now. My phone buzzed at 10 a.m. Unknown number. I let it ring 3 times before picking up. Hello? Alex, Veronica's voice oozed through the speaker. It was sickeningly sweet, the tone she used when she wanted my dad to buy her jewelry. How are you settling in? Is the motel safe? It has a roof, Veronica. What do you want? I was thinking, she said, her voice trembling slightly. We got off on the wrong foot. Grief makes us do crazy things. We're family, Alex. And family helps each other. Cut the crap, I said, leaning back in my squeaky chair. You can't open it. Silence. Then, the mask slipped. It's my money, she snapped. The will says it's mine. You are withholding intellectual property that belongs to the estate. That's theft. The device is yours, I corrected her. The number in my head? That's mine. And I don't recall the will saying you inherited my brain. I'll give you $10,000, she said. Cash. Today. You give me the PIN, and you walk away. I laughed. It was a genuine, belly laugh. 10,000? For 50 million? You really are bad at math, Veronica. 20,000. And I won't sue you for emotional distress. I'm hanging up. Wait. She screamed. The desperation cracked her voice. Just. Come over. Please. Let's talk numbers. I can make it worth your while. She said please. That was a first. I looked at the screen. The Bitcoin price was ticking down another percentage point. She was watching her fortune evaporate. I'll be there in an hour, I said. Have the gate open. I drove my beat-up sedan through the wrought iron gates of the estate. The lawn was perfectly manicured, the fountain was spraying crystal clear water, but the house felt like a mausoleum. Veronica was waiting in the library. She looked like a wreck. Her hair was pulled back in a severe bun, but strands were loose. Her eyes were red-rimmed. A bottle of Chardonnay sat on my father's desk, half empty. Next to it sat the Obsidian. She didn't offer me a drink. She didn't say hello. 50,000, she said the moment I closed the door. That's my final offer. You take the 50 grand, you tell me the numbers, and you leave. I walked over to my father's leather armchair, the one she had forbidden me from sitting in for the last year, and sat down. I crossed my legs. You know, I said, Dad told me about you. He knew exactly what you were. He called you his expensive hobby. He loved me. She spat, her hand shaking as she reached for her wine glass. He loved that you were 26, I corrected. But he didn't trust you. That's why he never wrote the PIN down. That's why he only told me. He knew that if he died, you'd try to take everything. And he wanted to make sure I had leverage. He told you the code? Her eyes went wide. You actually know it? I know it. She stood up, pacing the room like a caged tiger. Okay. Okay, fine. $100,000. Alex, that's more money than you've ever seen. You can buy a house. You can start over. Just give me the damn code. I looked at the Obsidian. I want half, I said. She stopped pacing. She looked at me like I had grown a second head. What? $25 million, I said calmly. We open the wallet. We transfer half the Bitcoin to my address, half to yours. Then we go our separate ways. You're insane. She screamed, slamming her hand on the desk. It's all mine. The lawyer said so. The will says all assets. You are trying to extort me. Then ask the lawyer to open it, I said, standing up. I'm sure he charges less than I do. I turned to the door. No. Wait. She lunged across the room and grabbed my arm. Her grip was desperate. Her nails dug into my skin. Okay, she breathed, panic radiating off her. Okay. Half. We split it. Just. Stop walking away. I looked down at her. I knew she was lying. I knew the moment that wallet unlocked, she would scream for the security guards, have me thrown out, and transfer 100% of the funds to a private account in the Caymans. She would spend the next 10 years suing me if I tried to claim my share. But I needed her to believe I was greedy. Greed makes people blind. I need a guarantee, I said. I'll write a contract, she said quickly, scrambling for a pen. I'll sign whatever you want. No contracts, I said. Contracts take too long. Here is the deal, I'll give you the PIN. But I am not touching that device. Why? Because if I type it in, you'll claim I hacked it. You'll claim I stole it. I want your fingerprints on the unlock. I want the logs to show you access the funds. I dictate, you type. She hesitated, eyeing the device. Then she nodded slowly. Fine. Tell me the numbers. I walked back to the desk. I stood over the Obsidian. It's 12 digits, I lied. It's a combination of dates. But there's a trick. The internal gyroscope sensors are extremely sensitive. If you hold it at the wrong angle, or if your hand shakes too much, it registers a false tap. You have to be precise, Veronica. Can you handle that? She picked up the heavy titanium bar. Her hands were trembling, but she gripped it tight. I can do it, she whispered. Give it to me. I leaned in close, invading her personal space. I could smell the stale wine and expensive perfume. The code is in 3 parts, I said softly. The first 4 digits are the month and year he met you. He told me it was the beginning of the end. She glared at me, her jaw tight, but she didn't argue. She hovered her manicured finger over the small, capacitive touchscreen. 0, 6, 1, 2. I recited numbers that meant absolutely nothing. She tapped them in. Beep, 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 beep. The second part, I continued, is the year he bought his first Bitcoin. The start of the empire. 2, 0, 1, 0. And the last 4, I said, dropping my voice to a whisper, is my birthday. She paused. Her finger froze over the screen. She looked up at me, confusion flickering behind the greed. He used your birthday? He did, I said. He never forgot it. Even if he stopped calling. She gritted her teeth, burying the guilt under the avarice. She typed the numbers. 0, 8, 1, 4. Hit enter, I said. She pressed the button. We watched the tiny OLED screen. A spinning hourglass icon appeared. Processing. Processing. Access denied. Attempts remaining, 2. The screen flashed red. A harsh, electronic buzz filled the silent library. Veronica screamed. She literally threw the device onto the desk like it had burned her. You lied. She shrieked, backing away. You gave me the wrong code. It turned red. It says 2 attempts left. I didn't lie. I shouted back, stepping forward and feigning panic. You shook it. I told you, Veronica. The gyroscope is sensitive. If you tremble while it's hashing, it registers a tamper event. I didn't shake it. Look at your hands. I pointed. You're vibrating like a leaf. If this locks, we lose everything. Do you understand? $50 million, gone. She looked at her hands. They were shaking uncontrollably. The panic was setting in, overriding her logic. I can't help it, she stammered, hyperventilating. The pressure. Calm down, I commanded. It didn't wipe yet. It just failed the check. We have 2 more tries. But you need to listen to me. Put the device flat on the desk. Do not hold it. Use one finger. Like a surgeon. She swallowed hard, nodding rapidly. She wiped sweat from her forehead. If you screw this up, Alex. She hissed, her voice trembling. If you are playing a game with me, I will kill you. I swear to God. I want my 25 million, Veronica, I lied, staring her dead in the eye. I'm not screwing it up. But the algorithm shifts the PIN after a failed attempt. It's a security feature. We have to use the secondary code now. The secondary code? Her eyes widened. Why didn't we use that first? Because it's longer, I improvised. And the math is harder. Are you ready? She stared at the black metal stick on the desk. The red light was pulsing slowly, waiting. Give it to me, she whispered. The secondary code isn't dates, I said, keeping my voice steady despite the adrenaline dumping into my system. Dad loved patterns. It's the Fibonacci sequence. Do you know what that is? I don't care about the math. She screamed, her voice cracking. Just give me the digits. Okay. Breathe. Don't touch the sides of the device. Just the screen. She hovered her finger over the glass, her hand shaking so bad it looked like she was having a seizure. 1. 1. 2. 3. I called out the numbers. She tapped them. Beep. 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 5. 8. 1. 3. Sweat was dripping down her nose now, landing on the mahogany desk. She didn't wipe it away. She was entirely focused on the glowing blue numbers. 2. 1. 3. 4. Is that it? She whispered, her finger hovering over the enter key. That's it, I said. Press it gently. She tapped the button. The hourglass spun again. Processing. My heart hammered against my ribs. If she realized I was feeding her junk, she'd stop. If she stopped, she'd hire a lawyer, tie me up in court for years, and eventually find a way to brute force it or sue me for the PIN. I needed her to destroy it herself. Processing. Access denied. Attempts remaining. 1. Warning, data wipe imminent. The device let out a high-pitched, piercing shriek. The screen didn't just turn red, it strobed crimson. The text scrolled across the tiny display. Final attempt. Incorrect entry will result in permanent key deletion. Veronica let out a sound like a wounded animal. She scrambled back from the desk, knocking over the bottle of wine. It shattered, sending white wine and glass across the expensive rug. No. No, 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 she whimpered, clutching her hair. One left. Only one left. She turned on me. Her eyes were wild, the pupils dilated with pure terror. She grabbed a heavy brass letter opener from the desk and pointed it at my chest. You're sabotaging me. She screamed. You want it to wipe. You want me to have nothing. You gave me the wrong codes on purpose. I stood up slowly, raising my hands. I had to sell this. I want the money. I yelled back, matching her intensity. Why would I burn $25 million? Do you think I'm that spiteful? I'm broke, Veronica. I live in a motel. I need this just as much as you do. Then why isn't it working? She shrieked, waving the blade. Because the algorithm shifted. I lied. We triggered the failsafe. Put the knife down, Veronica. We have one try left. The master override. The what? She lowered the blade slightly, desperation warring with rage. The Duress Code, I said, lowering my voice. Dad told me about it. If the primary codes fail, you use the Duress Code. It bypasses the gyroscope check. It bypasses the time delay. It opens the vault immediately. She processed this. It made sense to her twisted, panicked logic. Why? She swallowed hard. Why didn't you give me that one first? Because, I said, looking down at my shoes, feigning shame. He told me only to use it in an emergency. It triggers a notification to his lawyer. I didn't want the lawyers involved. I wanted to split the money quietly. She stared at me. The greed flared up again, overpowering the fear. Lawyers meant fees. Lawyers meant delays. Lawyers meant sharing. Give it to me, she hissed, dropping the letter opener on the wet rug. Give me the Duress Code. Right now. She stood over the device, her breathing ragged. The red light on the screen pulsed rhythmically, casting a sinister glow on her pale face. If this fails, she whispered, her voice barely audible, I will ruin you, Alex. I will tell the police you broke in. I will tell them you hacked it. I will spend every penny I've left to make sure you rot in a cell. It won't fail, I said softly. I walked around the desk. I stood right next to her. I could see the sweat beading on her upper lip. The code is simple, I said. It's the only thing Dad actually cared about besides the money. What is it? His mother's social security number. The last 4 digits. Repeated 3 times. Grandma? She scoffed, a flicker of her old arrogance returning. He hated that woman. He wouldn't even pay for her nursing home. He feared her, I said. And Dad always believed that fear was a better lock than love. She hesitated, her finger hovering over the glass. Give me the numbers. 8. 9. 4. 2. She typed it. Beep. 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 Again, I said. 8. 9. 4. 2. She was faster this time. The greed was taking over, pushing the panic aside. She could almost taste the champagne. One more time, I whispered. And then the vault opens. 8. 9. She stopped. Her finger froze inches from the screen. She looked up at me. Her eyes narrowed. Alex? Yeah? If this opens. A cruel smile touched her lips. I'm not giving you half. I didn't blink. I didn't argue. I just smiled, a genuine, cold smile that she completely misinterpreted as defeat. I know, Veronica, I said. I never expected you to. She let out a short, triumphant laugh. Smart boy. She looked back down at the device. She tapped the final digits. 4. 2. She slammed her finger onto the enter key with the force of a judge banging a gavel. The spinning hourglass didn't appear this time. Instead, the screen went completely black. For a second, the library was dead silent, save for the hum of the air conditioning. Veronica let out a ragged breath. Did it work? Is it rebooting? Wait for it, I said, taking a slow step backward toward the door. A single line of white text appeared on the black screen. Security Protocol Gamma. Initializing. Then, a progress bar appeared. It wasn't the green bar of a successful login. It was stark white. Formatting, 0%. Veronica stared at it, her brow furrowed. She tapped the screen. Nothing happened. 10%, 20%. What is that? She asked, her voice pitching up. Why does it say formatting? It's cleaning, I said calmly. She looked at me, hope battling with confusion. Cleaning? Like decrypting the keys? 40%. No, Veronica, I said. Like wiping. You just entered the Duress Code. She froze. The blood drained from her face so fast she looked like a wax statue. What? The code I gave you, I explained, watching the numbers tick up. That wasn't the master override. That was the code Dad set up in case he was being tortured. In case someone held a gun to his head and forced him to open the wallet. 60%. Stop it. She screamed. The realization hit her like a physical blow. She grabbed the heavy titanium bar. She shook it. She mashed the buttons. Stop. Undo it. Cancel. 75%. You can't stop it, I said. The secure element is overriding the private keys with random noise. It's doing it 7 times over. Military standard. 90%. Do something. She shrieked at me, clawing at the screen with her fingernails. Alex. Save IT. I can't, I said. Once it hits 100%, the money is mathematically unrecoverable. It's just ghosts in the machine. 99%. Veronica let out a sound I'll never forget, a guttural, primitive wail of pure loss. 100%. The screen flashed once. Device wiped. Factory reset complete. Then, the text vanished. The screen returned to the factory default menu. Welcome to Obsidian. Create new wallet? $50 million. 52, actually. Vaporized in 10 seconds. It wasn't in a bank. It wasn't in the cloud. It was gone. Veronica stared at the tiny screen. Her mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. Her legs gave way, and she collapsed onto the wet rug, amidst the broken glass and spilled wine, clutching the piece of metal to her chest like a dead child. No, she wheezed, rocking back and forth. No, 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 she stayed on the floor for a long time. I just watched her. It was like watching a building collapse in slow motion, the dust settling over the ruins of her ambition. Finally, she looked up at me. Her makeup was streaked with tears, her eyes bloodshot and empty. You burned it, she whispered. The shock was fading, replaced by a cold, sharp hatred. You burned $50 million just to hurt me. I burned it because it was the only way to make sure you never touched it, I said. You're an idiot. She shrieked, struggling to her feet, slipping on the wet rug. You could have had half. We could have been rich. You stupid, petty, jealous little boy. I have enough, I said quietly. You have nothing. She screamed, her voice tearing at her throat. You live in a flea bag motel. You have a box of old records. You have nothing. I reached into my pocket. I pulled out a small, silver Kingston USB drive. It wasn't titanium. It wasn't military grade. It was a $10 stick I bought at a pharmacy years ago. Dad didn't trust you, I said. But he didn't leave me with nothing. 7 years ago, before the price spiked to the moon, he moved 100 Bitcoin into a separate wallet. He gave me the keys for my 21st birthday. He told me it was my insurance policy. Her eyes locked onto the USB drive in my hand. For a split second, I saw the muscles in her legs tense. She was going to lunge for it. Don't, I warned, my voice dropping an octave. I memorized the seed phrase and wiped this drive an hour ago. It's empty plastic. The money is in my head. She slumped against the desk, the fight draining out of her. 100 Bitcoin. $6 million. Not 50, but enough to live comfortably forever. And she had none of it. Get out, she whispered. Get off my property. I'm going, I said, turning to the door. Oh, and Veronica? One last thing. She looked up, hating me. You might want to sell the house quickly. Or the jewelry. Maybe the cars. Why? She spat. Because I'm a law-abiding citizen, I said. I called the IRS tip line this morning. I told them about the estate. See, estate taxes are calculated based on the value of the assets at the time of death. Her eyes went wide. When Dad died on Tuesday, that wallet was worth $52 million. The government is going to want their 40% cut. That's about $20 million in taxes, Veronica. I smiled. The fact that you lost the money today. That's not their problem. You still owe the tax on the inheritance. Her mouth fell open. The horror wasn't just losing the fortune anymore. It was the realization that she was now $20 million in debt to the federal government. You. You killed me, she gasped. No, I said, opening the door. You killed yourself. I just handed you the weapon. I walked out of the heavy oak doors and into the bright afternoon sun. The air smelled of jasmine and freshly cut grass, the smell of expensive landscaping that Veronica would no longer be able to afford. Behind me, the library was silent. No more screaming. No more begging. Just the heavy silence of a tomb. I walked past the guest house, the one she was going to turn into a Pilates studio. I ran my hand along the stucco wall. She would probably have to sell the copper wiring out of the walls to pay for her defense attorney. I reached my car, a 10-year-old sedan with a dent in the bumper and a fading paint job. It was parked next to her gleaming white G-Wagon. I patted the hood of my car. It wasn't pretty, but it was paid for. And unlike hers, the repo man wouldn't be coming for it next week. I sat in the driver's seat and plugged my phone into the auxiliary cord. I scrolled through the digital library of the only thing my father had officially left me, his records. I tapped play on Miles Davis, Blue and Green. The slow, melancholic trumpet filled the car. It was the sound of a smoky room, of a stiff drink, of the end of a long night. I pulled up the crypto exchange app on my phone one last time. BTC/USD, plus 2.4%. My private stash, the 100 coins Dad gave me years ago, was sitting safely on the blockchain. $6,200,000. It wasn't 50 million. I wasn't a titan of industry. I wasn't a whale. But as I put the car in drive and rolled down the windows, letting the wind hit my face, I realized I was something better. I was free. I looked in the rearview mirror as I drove through the wrought iron gates. The mansion stood on the hill, massive and imposing. Inside, a woman was sitting on the floor with a piece of useless titanium, surrounded by the ghosts of a fortune she almost had, waiting for the tax man to come and take the rest. My father used to say the Obsidian was the ultimate security. He was right. It protected the family fortune from the one person who didn't deserve a cent of it. I turned onto the highway and didn't look back.